Hello, 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 welcome to another video from me, Ihlamur, and I'm focusing today on the Provisioner in the incredible game, the one that I am enjoying no end, Pioneers of Pagonia. And if you've been following the channel, you know we've been looking at all of the food in the game and really trying to figure out which food source is going to be best. And what I'm coming to the conclusion of is that different food sources are going to be best at different phases of the game, and eventually you're going to want to have a wide range of food sources. But today is the day that I tell you which food source I recommend for the beginning of the game. And that's because we're looking at the Provisioner, and the Provisioner is the one who gets you your rations. They can get your explorers going, they get your quarries going, they get your miners going. Rations is really the fuel for the beginning part of the game, and it's much harder to get some food sources than others, and it's much quicker to get some than others. So let's start looking at this right now. As you can see, the Provisioner utilizes bread, meat and fish, and also needs firewood if it's going to cook the meat or the fish. It doesn't need firewood for bread. If you've got bread, they can just make rations. It's quite an early game building. Softwood trunks and stone are all that you need to build this, and so you can get down to it right away. And of course, that's how it was designed. My congratulations to the developers on the amount of attention that they have spent on making sure that this game is balanced. And honestly, they've done a really good job for an alpha. Now, I think that resources are too easy to get. I think that food is too plentiful, but it's actually still pretty balanced, and I think that they will probably rebalance this in the future as the game develops. But you know, so far so good. Now, as I mentioned, the Provisioner is an early game building. It's one of the bigger ones, so you do need 4 softwood trunks and 4 stone. It sits on a footprint of 144 meters squared. That's 3 by 3 on your grid, and it's going to take you just under 2 minutes to build. So let's get this built now, and I'll show you our cheat sheet. As you can see, you can build it on most places. So on the mossy ground, no problem. On the lakeside, no problem. You just can't build it on the rock and the cliff, you know, the places that the mines go. But you're going to want to build it pretty close to your mines, because they are the main recipients of your rations. Rations are important because they are a nutritious food source, and so every ration is going to allow 6 miners to make a journey and mine some stone or some ore or some coal or whatever. And so that's how you're going to get your raw resources, or it's going to allow explorers to go out and explore a little bit further. Provisioner takes in 3 workers, and I'm going to call them prudents. They work for between 40 and 45 seconds to produce your rations, and the 5-second difference is that different food sources will give you different amounts of rations. 1 to 2 rations are 40 seconds, they get dealt with pretty quickly, and then 45 seconds, the extra 5 seconds is if you've got 3 to 4 rations, it just takes them a little bit longer to move the extra rations around. They can then store 16 rations within the Provisioner if it's not being used elsewhere. It takes 3 builders to build the Provisioner, and that's how many you're going to need if you're going to hit that just under 2-minute time frame. So once they've got some meat or some fish and some firewood, now remember you need firewood if you're going to do this, then they'll put the meat in the oven, they'll put firewood in the oven, it comes out and they bundle it all up. And as I've said before, different food types, they give you different amounts of rations. So the rabbit meat gives you 2 rations, and that's 12 journeys, remember, because it's got a nutrition value of each ration has a nutrition value of 6, so 6 journeys per ration, so you're going to get 12 journeys out of 1 unit of rabbit meat. Boar meat gets you 4 rations, that's 24 journeys, really good food source. And of course, from a single boar, you're going to get 2 lots of meat, so important to recognise that. Deer meat, that's good for comfort food, it's not good for nutrition, so you only get 1 meal out of it, 1 ration out of it, only 6 journeys. Similar for trout. But herring, which is the fish that you catch in the ocean, you're going to get 3 rations or 18 journeys out of that. And then bread doesn't require firewood, but as we're going to see, it requires a lot of other processing, and so you get 3 rations out of it. It's a great food source, but it requires a long food chain, a long production. And I hear you loud and clear. You're saying to me, Ihlamur, great to have all the details, thank you for those, but which food source should we be focusing on, especially at the beginning of the game? And I've made a beautiful table for you that we will look through together. Now, if you are just interested in time, if you want to output as much rations and get as many journeys as possible, and you've got limitless people and you've got limitless space, bread is your friend. Because actually, if you can set up that system with 14 wheat fields, one wheat crop farm, 2 windmills, 4 bakers, 5 wells and 2 provisioners, which is a lot, then you can actually be producing 1 ration every 22 seconds, or 66 seconds for each time the provisioner is working. And that's an incredible ratio of you could be giving the miners, just using this system, enough rations to be making a journey every 3.7 seconds. And that means you can have a lot of miners. They can be getting a lot of ore and a lot of stone for you. But there's a downside. You need all of those buildings, right? So you need 14 buildings and 14 fields, and that means you're going to be taking up 1,332 square meters of space, not including the roads, right? It's going to take you 36 people to produce each ration. That's how many people are going to be involved in this process. And so although the time per journey that you're going to get is fantastic, actually you're going to need 74 square meters of space per journey, and you're going to need 2 people per journey, which is quite a lot. It's a big investment. Again, if it's end game, who cares? You've got all the space in the world. You've got 3,000 people or something. But at the beginning of the game, that seems a little bit extravagant. On the other hand, your boar, well, you can get boar, 1 unit of boar meat, roughly every 52.5 seconds, and each unit is going to produce you 4 rations, okay? And interestingly enough, the time it takes to get each unit of boar and the time it takes for the provisioner, 45 seconds, to produce the rations is roughly equal. So actually those two go together really nicely. You get 24 mining journeys out of it, you get 4 rations. And so your time per ration is just slightly higher than the bread. It's going to take you 24 seconds to produce each ration, which gives you a time per journey of 4.1 seconds. What I mean is you can release another miner just about every 4 seconds, and that's only slightly more than the bread. It takes you less than 1/3 the number of people, so only 11 people required to get that underway, and only 3 buildings instead of the 14 plus fields, and that's only an area cost of 272 meters squared. So if you break that down per journey, it's just over 11 meters squared per journey, and it's only half a person per journey that it takes, because you're producing more rations, right? So at the end of the day, boar, I believe, is your best food source. If you've got boar at the beginning, then put down a hunter, put down a provisioner. You are going to need a forager or a woodcutter or a forester to be collecting firewood as well, and I have taken that into account. But altogether, the boar slightly less good than the bread, but so much more efficient in the long run. The second best food source, I believe, is rabbit. And again, you don't get as many rations, but it's quicker to get rabbit because you're not having to deal with the leather, for example, and it's the same number of people, same number of buildings, and you're going to be able to release a miner on his journey just over every 6 seconds if you set this system up really well. And then herring. Herring's great if you don't have boar or rabbit, because you're going to have fish in the sea, right? You're going to catch your herring. It takes a little longer to catch them, but you get 3 rations per herring. And again, not that many buildings, just 3, not that much manpower required, 11. And so your time per journey, yeah, it's a little bit longer. Every 7.5 seconds you're going to be able to release another miner, but only 15 meters squared is the area that you're going to be using. The manpower per journey is just about half a person. So yeah, herring's the next best. Trout and deer, those are good for comfort food. You're going to want to use those in your tavern. They're not good for rations unless you really don't have anything else. I would just switch those off, and you'll notice actually in the menu that those are switched off by default because the game itself has realised that those are not a good option for you. So, in summary, provision is great. Put them down near a forest so that you can get your firewood quickly, and because your boar and your rabbit are likely to be near the forest, don't cut down all of the forest. Make sure that there's room for your animals to replenish and regenerate. And if you don't have any animals on your beginning map, look for some herring, check out the oceans. If you don't have any of those starting resources, then you are in a little bit of trouble. You're probably going to want to go the tavern route at that point, or invest in bread. And you can do really well with bread, but it's going to be a big investment. It's going to take you a long time to get there, and hopefully you've got enough ore and stone resources that you don't run out of them before you've managed to implement your bread production. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope this helps you to figure out how to play this game better, how to enjoy it more. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next video where we are going to look at the tavern and finish off this food production cycle once and for all.